Untold stories of the Golden Age of Islam. The Golden Age of Islam, 8th to 14th century, was a time when the Islamic world became a global hub of knowledge, fueled by the Quran's call to seek understanding and the Hadith's emphasis on learning. Across cities like Baghdad and Cordoba, scholars of all faiths, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians, collaborated to advance science, art, and philosophy, driven by moral responsibility rather than profit. This era's legacy lies not just in famous figures, but also in untold stories of women educators, innovative engineers, and cultural bridge builders, showing that openness, ethics, and cooperation power true progress. Before we dive further into the video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our upcoming videos. The spark of a golden era. The seeds of the Golden Age were planted in the earliest days of Islam. The Prophet Muhammad's teaching that seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim was revolutionary for its time. Unlike in many societies where learning was reserved for elites, Islamic teaching made it a communal duty. This meant that the desire for knowledge was not confined to palaces and courts, but spread through mosques, schools, and marketplaces. When Islam spread rapidly beyond the Arabian Peninsula, it came into contact with civilizations rich in knowledge: Greek, Persian, Indian, and Chinese. Rather than rejecting these traditions as foreign, Muslim rulers and scholars absorbed them, recognizing that wisdom is universal. They saw truth as a divine gift, regardless of where it originated. The political stability and wealth of the Abbasid Caliphate provided fertile ground for this cultural exchange. Caliphs like Harun al-Rashid and his son al-Mamun valued scholarship as much as military success. They invested heavily in building libraries, observatories, and institutions that would nurture scholars from across the Islamic world. Baghdad, their capital, became a hub for trade, diplomacy, and most importantly, intellectual collaboration. This openness to foreign knowledge was not blind imitation. Scholars critically examined inherited works, correcting errors and expanding upon them. They blended Greek logic with Indian mathematics, Persian medicine with Chinese techniques. The result was a new, uniquely Islamic intellectual tradition, rooted in faith, enriched by diversity, and aimed at serving society. The spark of the Golden Age lay in this blend of values: a religious imperative to seek knowledge, a political environment that supported it, and a willingness to learn from anyone. This combination transformed the Islamic world into a civilization that would lead humanity in science, art, and culture for centuries. Here's your text rewritten so that each section is condensed to around 150 words while keeping the richness and flow. House of Wisdom, the beating heart of knowledge. At the center of the Golden Age stood Baghdad's Bait al-Hikmah, or House of Wisdom, a hub for scholars of all faiths. Founded under Caliph Harun al-Rashid and expanded by al-Mamun, it served as a library, translation center, and research institute. Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and Zoroastrian thinkers collaborated to translate and refine Greek, Persian, Indian, and Chinese texts on medicine, astronomy, mathematics, and more. Al-Mamun sponsored expeditions to collect rare manuscripts, fueling the translation movement. Beyond preserving works, the house nurtured debate, experimentation, and innovation, with observatories testing theories and mathematics applied to architecture and engineering. Its influence reached far beyond Baghdad, later inspiring Europe's Renaissance. Above all, it embodied the belief that learning is a shared human endeavor, enriched by diversity and driven by moral purpose, leaving a legacy that outlasted empires. Unsung Muslim scientists and their breakthroughs. Beyond well-known names like Ibn Sina and al-Khwarizmi, many brilliant minds shaped history. Al-Jazari, a 12th century engineer, designed intricate clocks, fountains, and early programmable devices. Mariam al-Astrolabiya, a 10th century inventor, crafted astrolabes with unmatched precision, earning royal recognition. Ibn al-Haytham revolutionized optics, proving that vision results from light entering the eye, laying the groundwork for the scientific method. Al-Razi advanced medicine with clinical descriptions of smallpox and measles, emphasizing ethics and compassion in healthcare. These scholars, often overlooked, shared a philosophy that science should serve humanity. They saw faith and reason as complementary, viewing inquiry as a path to understanding the divine. Reviving their stories restores not only their achievements, but also the values that drove them: curiosity, humility, and moral responsibility, reminding us that knowledge flourishes when its purpose is to benefit all. The hidden role of women scholars. Though often absent from historical accounts, women played a vital role in the Golden Age. Fatima al-Fihri founded the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in 859 CE, now the world's oldest operating university. In Al-Andalus, Lubna of Cordoba, a mathematician and master calligrapher, managed Caliph al-Hakam II's vast library, preserving and translating rare works. Women also excelled in religious scholarship. Aisha bint Abu Bakr transmitted over 2,000 hadiths, while Karima al-Marwaziyya became a renowned teacher. In medicine, women served as physicians and midwives, writing treatises on childbirth and healthcare. Their contributions reveal that intellectual life was far from exclusively male. Remembering these figures corrects historical distortions and honors the inclusive spirit that fueled this era's achievements. Their legacy is not just one of knowledge, but of opportunity, reminding us that the advancement of learning depends on all voices being heard: trade, wealth, and cultural exchange. The prosperity of the Golden Age was inseparable from the flourishing of trade. Spanning continents from Spain to China, the Islamic world sat at the crossroads of major trade routes, including the Silk Road and maritime networks in the Indian Ocean. This strategic position allowed goods, ideas, and innovations to move swiftly across vast distances. Merchants carried more than spices, silk, and precious metals. They carried knowledge. A trader from Damascus might return from India with mathematical treatises, while a merchant from Basra could bring back Chinese papermaking techniques. These exchanges enriched not only the economy, but also the intellectual landscape. Cities like Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba became cosmopolitan centers where scholars, artisans, and traders mingled in bustling markets. Caravanserais along trade routes served as rest stops where travelers exchanged news and ideas. It was in these vibrant spaces that an astronomer might learn of a new navigational instrument from the Far East, or a physician might encounter herbal remedies from Africa. The wealth generated from trade-funded libraries, schools, and hospitals. Rulers and wealthy patrons often sponsored scholars, covering the costs of research, translations, and manuscript copying. The introduction of paper, first brought from China and refined in the Islamic world, made books more affordable and knowledge more widely available. Cultural blending was a natural byproduct of this exchange. Persian decorative arts influenced Islamic architecture, Indian numerals transformed mathematics, and African gold supported monumental building projects. These influences did not dilute Islamic identity, but instead enriched it, creating a civilization that was at once deeply rooted in its faith and open to the world. The success of this network lay in mutual respect and the understanding that knowledge, like trade, thrives in an environment of openness and cooperation. It is a lesson that modern economies and cultures would do well to remember. Art, architecture, and calligraphy, a divine language. The Golden Age of Islam was as much a celebration of beauty as it was of intellect. In an era where religious art avoided depicting living beings in sacred contexts, creativity found expression through geometry, arabesques, and the flowing elegance of calligraphy. This aesthetic approach was not merely decorative. It reflected a profound spiritual philosophy. The intricate patterns symbolized the infinite nature of God, and the symmetry represented balance and harmony in creation. Architecture became a fusion of engineering brilliance and artistic vision. The Great Mosque of Cordoba, with its endless rows of horseshoe arches and intricate mosaics, demonstrated both structural innovation and artistic mastery. The Alhambra in Granada remains a jewel of Islamic architecture, where carved stucco, arabesque walls, and serene courtyards create a sense of spiritual tranquility. In the east, the mosques of Samarra, Baghdad, and Isfahan showcased monumental scale and artistic precision. Calligraphy emerged as a dominant art form, elevating the written word to a spiritual experience. Quranic verses adorned mosques, palaces, and everyday objects, making the remembrance of God an integral part of the visual landscape. The scripts themselves, Kufic, Naskh, Thuluth, evolved into highly refined styles that required years of study and practice. In mosque domes reveal an advanced understanding of mathematics and spatial design. This integration of form and function reflected the Islamic worldview that beauty is an expression of divine truth. To build, paint, or write beautifully was not vanity, it was worship. The artistic legacy of the Golden Age still inspires modern architecture and design, proving that when art is guided by purpose, it transcends time. Philosophy and the preservation of ancient knowledge. Philosophy thrived during the Golden Age of Islam, not as a separate discipline, but as a bridge between faith and reason. Muslim philosophers engaged deeply with the works of Aristotle, Plato, and other Greek thinkers, translating and commenting on them while also offering original insights. This engagement was not passive preservation, it was active dialogue. Al-Farabi, often called the second teacher after Aristotle, wrote extensively on political philosophy, ethics, and metaphysics. He proposed models for virtuous governance that combined moral integrity with practical wisdom. Ibn Sina, Avicenna, while renowned for his medical work, also developed philosophical systems that sought to harmonize revelation with rational inquiry. In Al-Andalus, Ibn Rushd, Averroes, became one of the most influential commentators on Aristotle, defending the role of reason in understanding divine truth. His works later shaped European scholasticism and influenced thinkers like Thomas Aquinas. One untold element of this philosophical tradition was its inclusivity. Philosophers often drew from Persian, Indian, and even Chinese thought, integrating diverse perspectives into a coherent intellectual framework. They believed that truth was universal and could be approached through multiple paths. Importantly, philosophy in the Islamic world was grounded in ethics. The pursuit of knowledge was not an abstract exercise. It was tied to the betterment of society and the refinement of the soul. This moral dimension distinguished Islamic philosophy from purely secular traditions, ensuring that intellectual pursuits remained connected to spiritual purpose. The preservation of ancient Greek philosophy by Muslim scholars was critical to its survival. After much of Europe had lost access to these works, translations into Arabic kept them alive, refined them, and eventually reintroduced them to the West. Without this bridge, the European Renaissance might have been delayed by centuries. All right, here's an expanded version of those remaining sections, while still keeping them fairly concise but richer in detail. The translation movement, bridging civilizations. One of the most influential achievements of the Golden Age was the vast translation movement, centered in Baghdad's famed House of Wisdom. Established under the Abbasid caliphs, this institution became a magnet for scholars from diverse lands. Greek, Persian, Sanskrit, and Syriac manuscripts, covering philosophy, medicine, astronomy, mathematics, and engineering, were carefully translated into Arabic. Aristotle's logic, Indian works on algebra, and Persian medical treatises all passed through the hands of these polymaths. But translation here was never just mechanical copying. Scholars such as Hunayn ibn Ishaq and Thabit ibn Qurra engaged with the text critically, clarifying difficult concepts, correcting errors, and often improving upon the original theories. In doing so, they blended ideas from different civilizations, creating a more refined and universal body of knowledge. Over the centuries, these Arabic works reached Latin Europe through Spain and Sicily, laying the intellectual foundations of the European Renaissance. This cross-cultural flow of ideas proved a timeless truth. Civilizations advance when they treat knowledge as a shared human inheritance rather than a possession to be hoarded. Medicine and hospitals, a legacy of care. The Islamic Golden Age transformed healthcare from a private luxury into a public right. Cities like Baghdad, Cairo, and Damascus built bimaristans, hospitals designed to serve all, regardless of wealth, religion, or background. These institutions were highly organized, with separate wards for different illnesses, pharmacies supplying regulated medicines, and trained physicians on staff. Scholars such as al-Razi, Razis, and Ibn Sina, Avicenna, wrote encyclopedias, al-Hawi and the Canon of Medicine, that became global medical references for centuries. Hygiene, diet, and mental health were emphasized, reflecting a holistic view of patient care. Remarkably, Bimaristan's were funded through charitable endowments, waqf, ensuring that they could operate indefinitely without relying on patient fees. The concept of free, organized medical treatment and the training of doctors in institutional settings remains one of the most humane and enduring legacies of the Golden Age. Astronomy and mapping the heavens. Astronomy flourished not only for curiosity's sake, but for deeply practical reasons, determining prayer times, charting the lunar calendar for Ramadan, and improving navigation. Observatories were built in Moraga, Samarkand, and Cairo, equipped with advanced instruments such as the astrolabe and quadrant. Al-Biruni measured the Earth's circumference with astonishing accuracy within a fraction of modern measurements. Al-Sufi's Book of Fixed Stars updated Ptolemy's star catalog, naming and mapping constellations, many of whose Arabic names survive today. These achievements influenced European navigators and helped lay the groundwork for the age of exploration. Mathematics, the language of the universe. Mathematics reached new heights with the adoption of the Hindu-Arabic numeral system, vastly simplifying calculations. Al-Khwarizmi, whose name gave us the term algorithm, formalized algebra, turning it into a discipline in its own right. Geometry became essential for Islamic architecture, producing the breathtaking tile patterns and structural precision of mosques and palaces. Trigonometry was developed to aid both astronomy and navigation, providing accurate methods to calculate distances and directions. The mathematical advancements of this period became the backbone of later scientific revolutions. The Islamic ethical framework for knowledge. The scholars of the Golden Age approached learning as a sacred trust from God, a resource meant to benefit all of humanity. Knowledge was pursued with humility, shared freely through public lectures and writings, and applied to solve real-world problems. This ethical foundation ensured that science, art, and philosophy worked in harmony with moral values, rather than drifting into harmful uses. Decline in lessons for the modern world. The Golden Age eventually waned under pressures from political fragmentation, invasions such as the Mongol sack of Baghdad, and shifting trade routes. Yet historians note that the deeper decline came from losing the openness to new ideas and the tolerance for intellectual diversity that once defined the era. The lesson for today is clear. Innovation thrives in societies that value curiosity, dialogue, and ethical responsibility. The Golden Age of Islam stands as a testament to what humanity can achieve when knowledge, faith, and compassion intertwine. It was not simply a chapter of the past, but a blueprint for the future, showing that wisdom grows when shared and that cultural and intellectual exchange enriches everyone. To revive its spirit today would be to build bridges, honor truth in all its forms, and seek learning that uplifts the human condition. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more videos like these, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our upcoming videos. See you next time.